Hi everyone, thank you for joining our Budget Beat call today. This is Jennifer Tran, Senior Policy Analyst at the Washington State Budget and Policy Center. Today on Budget Beat, we're really excited to have a few early learning experts with us. Joining us today are Ryan Pricco, Director of Advocacy and Policy at Childcare, Marie Keller, a family childcare provider and Chapter President for SEIU Local 925, and Jessica Roach, Early Learning Advocacy Manager at the Children's Alliance. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Budget and Policy Center, we're a research organization dedicated to advancing the prosperity of all Washingtonians. We host these calls throughout the legislative session to provide relevant information and news from Olympia. So a few quick housekeeping notes before we jump in. There's a number of people on the line, so we have muted all lines to avoid background noise. If you have any questions for us, please send them to us using the chat function on ReadyTalk. We will respond to as many as we can towards the end of the call. We'll be recording this Budget Beat call, which will be posted on our website soon. Okay, so let's get started. Ryan, can you kick us off by providing a big picture overview of what's happening in early learning and about some of the key challenges this session?
Sure, and thanks for inviting all of us on to talk about this critical effort. As many people know, early learning is incredibly important. In the last 20 years, we've learned so much about how the brain develops and the potential that can be realized if we maximize that development. And we now know that 95% of a person's brain develops before age 5, so before they start public school. And how that brain develops dictates how well they can work well with others, how well they can control their emotions, retain information, and so on, the basic skills that all children need in order to succeed in school and life. So myself, Childcare Aware, SEIU, Children's Alliance, and many other partners under the Early Learning Action Alliance have made fighting for high-quality early learning services to be made available to Washington's families with that goal in mind, to maximize school readiness and ensure that our kids, maximize their full potential. Unfortunately, we faced a lot of hurdles in that effort because, we're not part of public education. We completely lack resources. For the most part, the system's completely reliant on the funding capacity of new young families to be able to pay out of pocket. And as we all know, when families start having children, at best they're typically entering their field. At worst they're unemployed, or they're in school, or trying to figure out how they're going to earn an income, let alone being able to pay the full price of childcare, preschool, and so on. So we work collectively to try to make sure that all families get the early learning services that they need. We try to make sure that those services are individualized, and we try to connect it to the broader education continuum that Washington State provides for all kids. And the issues that we're dealing with right now, I just touched a lot on our lack of funding. I don't have the exact number in front of me right now, but I'm pretty positive that early learning funding in our state budget currently makes up less than 3% of the total budget, and K-12, for instance, makes up over half. So we have the lack of resources. We're trying to expand those resources so that we can provide more help for more people. And in particular, we're working to add support into childcare to make sure that families who need to use that system are able to afford it, and the children who are in that system benefit from high-quality care. We're trying to expand Ecap, which is our state high-quality preschool program that has great outcomes for kids and has a long waiting list and just doesn't serve all the children that are eligible for it. We're trying to, home visiting suffers from a lack of access. A small number of children who desperately need it receive home visiting services. And we're also trying to support families who are embarking on this journey of parenthood with things like paid family leave and so on. And so all these things are lacking the resources that they need, and we're working collectively to try to provide it for everybody. And to kind of get started on the detail of the problems that we're facing before we pivot to solutions, I'll kind of go over the state of childcare right now. So as you see in front of you, we have about 5,500 licensed childcare programs. They have the capacity to serve about 170,000 children. Currently, our best estimation is there's about 130,000 children that use childcare regularly throughout the state. As you can see, family childcare makes up the bulk of those facilities, 67% of them, but childcare centers make up the bulk of the capacity. So we have a very diverse array of programs that are serving kids and families in childcare, from very small, high-quality in-home family childcare programs with very intimate settings and very low ratios to large childcare centers that serve well over 100 children and have many classrooms, many teachers, and offer many different types of programs under one roof. We're really excited. A couple years ago in 2015, we passed the Early Start Act. It was a historical achievement for early learning. It got nationwide recognition, and with it came the solidification of Early Achievers, which is our state's quality rating improvement system. And for those that don't know, a quality rating and improvement system is a framework where we basically define quality childcare, quality early learning, and we provide supports to childcare providers in order to meet those standards. And then after a few years of work improving the quality in their care, they submit for a rating. The University of Washington comes in, conducts that rating, and then that information is then made available to families when they choose which childcare provider they want to bring their kid to. And so right now, a little over 3,600 programs are enrolled in Early Achievers. That's about 71% of all facilities, 75% of our capacity. They're serving over 73,000 children. So it's a large program that's already making a big impact. I did want to point out that 84% of children, or 84% of programs, it is written correctly, accept some form of subsidy, which is the term we use for families that receive state assistance to help pay for childcare. So a large number of programs not only accept children on subsidy, but are actually reliant on children on subsidy. Again, getting back to my original point that these are young families who are predominantly low income, and in order to afford the high price of childcare, which you can see in the next bullet there, they need some assistance from the state in order to pull it off. The median price for an infant in childcare is over $1,000 a month, and it can be much higher than that in certain areas of the state. So that's kind of the brief overview of childcare, but if you dive down deep into it, the picture is a lot scarier than what it looks. Last year, the median wage for a childcare worker was below what the new minimum wage is. So this is a minimum wage industry, and which is really sad when you consider how important this industry is and how we've kind of just left it unsupported. Childcare Aware over the past month has been surveying childcare providers across the state to find out what the impact of the new minimum wage initiative is and how they're going to deal with it. We're about to release a public document about that, but I can tell you preliminarily the data is showing that over half of our programs say that they need to raise the wages for more than half of their staff. So this isn't just one or two staff at a large child care center who are getting their wages bumped up. There's a huge wage compression issue here that affects just about everybody working in every child care program. And I don't want to come on and sound negative about the minimum wage initiative, but I do want to point out that in certain industries where all the wages are low, when an initiative comes through without the resources to come and pay for it, it can have in the short term a very bad impact on the field, and that's what we're seeing right now, and that's why we have such a sense of urgency with the legislature this year to try to bring more resources into the field. Because right now what programs are telling us are 76% of them are going to raise rates on families, and that's the only option they have in order to deal with the impact. And obviously, as we addressed earlier, and as we'll talk about in a second, families can't afford to pay more. Child care workers are in the 3rd percentile in Washington for occupational wages. Again, that shows the low priority that we have for some of our most important educators, and 40% of them are on state assistance themselves. So teacher well-being is a strong indicator of quality and being able to provide quality care to young kids. And if they're dealing with poverty and they're dealing with state assistance and not sure if they're going to be able to pay rent or put food on the table themselves, then it's really difficult for them to provide that quality care. This results in high turnover. 43% of assistants in center classrooms and 23% of center teachers turn over every year. And another strong indicator of quality is long-standing relationships for young kids. Those young brains need to establish relationships with an adult and then have that carry them forward for a long period of time. And if there's high turnover in classrooms, no matter what kind of quality improvement work you're doing, you're not going to maximize that brain development and that potential that you could see in that program. This is resulting in a great loss of programs. This is a trend that's been going on for a while. We used to have over 10,000 licensed programs in the state going back 10, 15 years ago. But just since 2011, we've lost 22% of our licensed programs. And I will point out that over that time, we've lost 1% of our capacity. And so families aren't quite feeling the effects of it in most of the state. But this is because a lot of the capacity is moving from family child care over to centers, which is fine in some areas, but particularly in rural areas that are completely reliant on family child care, that can result in a drastic loss of access for those families. And so it's something that we need to be more mindful of. Washington is expensive for child care, so I just went through a lot of data about what's happening to child care workers and programs. On the flip side, families are completely tapped out. We're the third most expensive state in the country for infants in a family child care, and the sixth most expensive for infants in centers. And as I showed in the last slide, the median cost for an infant is over $1,000. And what's most scary to me is that the annualized cost for one infant in a center for a single mother is more than half of her total median income. And so if you're a single mother and you have more than one child, you're basically unable to work, which is not the kind of strategy that we want to have for our workforce and our future employees. So what we're talking about here is a financial relationship that's completely tapped out, and it requires public intervention and more resources to be put into it.
Thanks, Ryan. That's really helpful. Maria, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how these challenges relate to family child care centers and what you're seeing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We've been unionized for about 10 years now, and so we have a really strong collective voice in this field, and we've been able to be instrumental in making some progress towards wages and training, and we're really excited about having quality improvements in family child care so that we can really, really address the needs of children and families. Still, unfortunately, family child care providers are only netting $7 an hour. Their average work weeks are about 70 hours. So as you can tell, we are paid in, the lowest 3rd percent of the workforce, and we really need to raise those wages. Like Ryan said, we've had a loss of family child care and a loss of access across the state. So one of the big challenges for families is like that relationship being so important with their teachers. In family child care, they often are there from the time that they are able to attend at a month old until they go to school. And so we know that it's really important to have those relationships and to continue and provide additional access. Through the loss of these licensed programs, we've seen a lot more unregulated care, and that's just not doing what we need for our families. One of the other challenges that family child care providers face is long work weeks and low pay, and the mandates that come our way. They are often, there's a lot of rules to follow. Some of them are very important and valuable, but we haven't quite adjusted for the quality rating system. So the quality rating system is an amazing program that gives a lot of opportunity to provide high quality services. And our Washington Administrative Code, or really the rules that we follow, we would like to see brought back to just health and safety and make it easy to build a really strong foundation in licensed care. So we think that we can build on a strong foundation, some amazing quality systems that we also need to expand eligibility. 1 in 5 children in our state are living in poverty. We need access to that quality and culturally relevant care for families. We have had historic investments in early learning, and we are really proud of that. The Early Start Act is bringing some amazing resources to our families. Unfortunately, many of them are built on program. They're directly going to program rather than really meeting that base level and getting to families. So we need more access there.
Great. Thanks, Marie. Let's talk about solutions. Jessica, what's the Early Learning Action Alliance working on this session to address some of these key challenges?
Thank you. So I will first just introduce the Early Learning Action Alliance. I think Ryan did a little bit. There are a couple of slides here that just show you that to address these challenges, a broad coalition formed about 10 years ago, representing a diverse network of stakeholders in Washington, including nonprofits that seek to improve communities, children's lives, education, racial and economic equity, professional associations, businesses, and industries. And you can see the membership here, and it includes everybody around this table. This network is united by the belief at the top of our legislative agenda, which you see here, that every child deserves the opportunity to succeed in school and in life, regardless of their race, ethnicity, geography, ability, or family economics. High-quality early learning is a strategy proven to give kids what they need to thrive. Investing in a great start for kids yields returns for all of us: more successful schools, stronger families, and more self-reliant adults prepared to contribute to a robust economy. As Ryan and Marie have mentioned, we have worked together to secure some historic investments in early learning. We worked with the legislature and the governor to pass the Early Start Act, to get a commitment from the legislature to make Ecap an entitlement for all kids who are eligible. We have supported prior collective bargaining agreements for family child care workers. And this year, in 2017, we are focused on these priorities before you. One is expanding access to Ecap, our state's high-quality pre-K. 2 is investing in the value that quality delivers in Working Connections Childcare, and both Ryan and Marie will speak to those in more detail. Growing and retaining a highly competent early learning professional workforce, and supporting parents as their child's first teacher, and raising revenue. I'm going to speak to those last 2 items briefly first. One, with regard to raising revenue, we believe that all parts of the continuum of education, early learning, K-12, and higher ed, are key to student success, and that we can't achieve our goals of student success without new revenue. Advancing access to high-quality early learning is an essential part of the solution for fulfilling our constitutional obligation to educate all children, and no education funding plan is complete without addressing the full education continuum, including early learning. ELA's interconnected legislative and budget priorities that you see here really define the critical early learning investments needed in 2017. And by making these investments, we'll provide immediate new access for kids who need it through pre-K slots, preserving existing access that's under threat, including increasing subsidy reimbursement rates, maintaining access to Working Connections and home visiting, and building the long-term capacity needed to continue to meet demand by growing and retaining a highly competent workforce. Because we won't be going into too much detail about parents as their child's first teacher for the rest of this call, I do want to briefly mention that we are also committed to sustaining and expanding home visiting. and enacting paid family and medical leave, working with Moms Rising and the Washington Work and Family Coalition. So I will speak briefly about Ecap and our goals for that legislative agenda item. First, what is Ecap? And I have to give credit to the Washington State Association of Head Start and Ecap for these slides here in the middle here. The Early Childhood Education and Assistance Program, or Ecap, is Washington's pre-K program serving at-risk 3- and 4-year-olds and their families. It serves 11,600 children across the state, though that is only 46% of eligible children. More than 26,000 are eligible and not served in Washington. 91% of the families in Ecap are at or below 110% of the federal poverty level, which is $26,235 a year for a family of 4. And you can see here that Ecap serves a racially, ethnically, and linguistically diverse population. Ecap addresses the needs of the whole child to ensure that gains are sustained. This includes parent engagement, partnering with parents to support their child's education. It includes connecting families to healthcare resources and other forms of family support. And I realized I didn't really speak to what it looks like in the classroom. But it is a program with well-trained teachers, including observation, individualization, assessment, partnering with parents, adjusting and individualization of goals and lesson plans. And the program works. You can see here that that over time in Ecap, children's outcomes improve significantly. A study by the Washington State, the WSIP, found that children who attended Ecap had significantly higher math and reading scores in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades compared to children who did not attend the program. So ELA is working together to secure from the legislature we want them to make good on their commitment to ensure that all eligible kids have access to Ecap. What's needed in order to achieve this is 1, funding for 2,708 new children in full and extended day classrooms. 2, an increase in the rate that is paid to Ecap providers to address some of the cost pressures in the fields that Ryan and Marie talked about, and so that programs can recruit and retain staff and meet these high quality standards. And we're also asking for an investment in early learning facilities to enable programs to expand and reach more children. So you can see that there are lots of opportunities for action on this. One of them is at the Children's Alliance website, children'salliance.org, and click on ACT.
Thanks, Jessica. Ryan, I'm going to go back to you so you could share some of the bills and budgets that you guys are working on this session.
Sure, thank you. I think the first thing I want to say is, we're talking about these, taking turns doing it and talking about childcare and Ecap separately, and I want everyone to know that through ELAW, we are really bringing these programs together, and we're working on innovative solutions to leverage these programs and not have an Ecap classroom here or a Head Start classroom here and our regular childcare classroom here, but, bring all our kids together and maximize all the resources we have to provide quality care for them. And I think the things that are on the legislative agenda, both from Ecap and from childcare, really highlight that, and I want that to be a strong takeaway for people. As I posted here, we believe strongly that early learning is the best investment that the state can make, and the research is pretty clear about that too. It yields a 13% return on investment because you see such a reduction in K-12 remediation and special education, kids having to repeat grades, kids dropping out, ending up in the correction system or on state dependence, and instead they go to college and they earn more money as adults and they become tax-paying citizens. So the return is just incredible in early learning, and childcare is the largest early learning program that our state has, again, serving about 130,000 kids. The tough point is that return on investment, you only realize it if the care is high quality. And as I articulated earlier, we're leaving child care providers and the families that they serve to collectively fund quality on their own. And again, that relationship is tapped out, and there's just not enough resources in the industry to provide high quality care for all kids that need it. Currently, it's only the wealthy kids that are really getting it, and we want to make sure that every child, no matter what zip code they're born in, benefits from high quality early learning. Because low wages and high turnover and unaffordability undermine quality. So we have a couple things moving forward in child care that are really meant to try to move those efforts forward. And the first and probably most important one is we just need more investment in Working Connections child care. So I talked about subsidies earlier. Working Connections Child Care is the program that actually sends reimbursements out to providers who are serving families who are low income and cannot afford child care on their own. And because of the Early Start Act a couple years ago, this is no longer a work support program that's just intended to get kids into a program where they'll be safe and kept in a healthy place until their parents can get off of work. We switched this to a high quality program. We now require everyone who serves families and Working Connections to be a part of Early Achievers and be committed to quality improvement, which is not easy to do. Marie can tell you. And so this is a sound investment that is the most accountable part of our education continuum, and yet it suffers from an incredible lack of investment. Subsidy rates based off of, they vary greatly from region to region, so it's hard to say where exactly they are compared to market rates. But when we talk to providers, they're as low as 30% of private rates, which, again, if you're taking in 30% of what you can charge a private paying family, you're either charging those private paying families more to make up the difference so you can keep the lights on, or you're making cuts that undermine quality. You're not giving your staff the planning time they need or the time off, the vacation they need in order to be good teachers. You're not bringing in the materials you need that the kids can really benefit from. You're cutting corners here and there that ultimately just undermine quality care for kids, again, at a time when they need it the most. The other problem is that there's a cap on the program. By law, there's not really supposed to be a cap on the program, but through budgeting, the state legislature has put a cap on it, and the cap is about 33,000 families, and we're getting very close to that cap. And once we hit it, families start getting waitlisted. And the way that this program works is you have to have a job before you can get into Working Connections child care. So just to go through a scenario, you're a single mother, you're just getting off of TANF out of welfare, maybe you just completed some courses at a community college, you're applying for jobs, you finally get one, you need to put your infant into a child care program right away so you can go to that job. It's $1,500 a month because you live here in Seattle, and you can't afford that, obviously, on the job you just got. So you need to go to Working Connections and get some assistance, and you're told, okay, you're on the waiting list. And maybe 4 or 5 months from now, we can actually give you some help from childcare. Now the only option you have is to turn down that job and go back on welfare, which is, obviously the last thing that we want to see do. This is someone who's put in the work to get out of state dependence And now, because of the cost of childcare, she's being forced right back into it. So we need more investment in Working Connections childcare. We're asking for $92 million to be put into the program to increase rates so that programs who, again, have committed to quality care actually have the resources they need in order to pull it off. And we're also asking to remove the cap on the program and maintain open enrollment and ensure by investment and policy that whenever families have gone to the length of getting a job and got everything lined up and all they need is a little bit of childcare, that they get it when they need it and they continue to move forward with their life. We also have a policy bill in place that is meant to stabilize our workforce. I just went through a ton of data about how unstable our workforce is, the high turnover, the low wages, no benefits, no retirement, anything. And so we're working on some innovative ways to try to build on the foundation of our workforce and so that we can continue to move them up. And so we have House Bill 1758. It's sponsored by Representative Sen, who is an incredible champion for early learning and childcare. And this would do a few things that would help stabilize our workforce beyond, just the investments that we need. One is it would pull together a group of stakeholders and experts around small business and economists and so on who would develop recommendations and help require the state to finally develop a plan for how we're going to increase childcare wages. We're never going to be able to provide the level of quality that all of our kids need in every region of the state if our childcare workers continue to make poverty wages and are on state assistance themselves. So we need to develop a plan that engages employers, that leverages other state and federal resources we have in play, and deregulates programs so that they can have more streamlined operations, everything above, because we're talking childcare providers make less than half of what a kindergarten teacher makes right now. And that's what I consider to be fair compensation for early educators. So if we're going to double the wages of childcare providers, we need all hands on deck, and that's what this work group would do. We also need to provide support to childcare programs around business management. The vast majority of childcare programs out there are incredibly dedicated, passionate, mostly women who have a strong passion for caring for kids, have gotten some background and some education in early childhood development, but they don't have any background on how to manage a business, but they are business owners. And again, they don't have any money to go out and get these courses. They don't have time. They work 12 hours a day, and then they do all their planning and scheduling on the weekends. So we want to bring a new training. It's called the Business of Childcare. We want to bring it to them with state resources. It's a childcare center training module that helps them develop a budget, develop a business plan, market their program, touches on all sorts of things that every small business needs in order to be successful, but brings it to the childcare provider who, again, doesn't have the resources and time to go get it on their own and does so in a way that's really tailored to what it means to run a childcare program. And we also want to expand a pilot that we have in place that would integrate Ecap with childcare. So Jessica just talked about how great Ecap is. I used to be on the board of the State Association for Ecap and Head Start, and I can't say enough nice things about that program. The difficulty that program is facing is that it's getting close to running out of space where new slots can go. So even if we get slots funded, the contractors that run our programs right now are running out of space in their buildings, and K-12 is needing more space for lowering their ratios, and so we're running out of options. And the most ready option for Ecap to expand into is licensed childcare programs. The difficulty is that there's a big difference between childcare and Ecap in terms of the kind of space you need, the ratios you need, the educational requirements that staff have. So we need to build that bridge between childcare and Ecap. Childcare Aware has developed a pilot that takes childcare programs through a training module that helps them figure out how to do budget allocations for Ecap, how to staff up for Ecap, how to fix their facilities for Ecap. And we're testing it right now. A few programs have actually moved forward. They're administering Ecap slots right now, and they're doing so really successfully because of the training module they went through. So this bill would expand that to other regions of the state so more providers can raise their hand and be a part of Ecap expansion. And so we'll be able to start taking a lot more kids off of that wait list. And at the same time, Ecap has a much higher slot rate and much more resources and technical assistance attached to it than a Working Connection slot rate. So we'd be bringing in a ton more income and a ton more support to these childcare programs if they can access Ecap, which again would go a long way towards stabilizing the workforce.
Great. Thank you so much, Ryan. Marie, can you talk about some of the solutions you're advancing this session?
Yeah, we really support all of these solutions, and we're so thankful to be a part of it. The opportunities, and I just want to continue on with Ecap because I think it is, we see that the return on investment is incredible. It is the best investment that you can make in our children. And like Ryan said, there's a lot of resources and training, but additionally, though, there are requirements. In family child care, there are a lot of opportunities, like there are in child care centers, to serve families where they are, where children already are, in their communities, on the schedules that parents are working. So I think that that is an a great place to start, is expanding into child care centers. Also, what we hear from families is they really like that they can have one drop-off for multiple children. So when you have a program serving those multiple ages, it just makes it easier for families. They're struggling to get to work and drop off kids, and everybody's getting high quality. The other thing in the mixed delivery system with Ecap is that all the children benefit from that program. And so we really like to see this kind of high quality expanded into all of our child care programs. Some of the things that we specifically are working on that will directly impact the quality and in our state for children is our collective bargaining agreement with Washington State Department of Early Learning has created a career development pathway. So it will bring exempt providers who want to become licensed providers into an education program that is also work experience working with current family child care providers. We are really excited to launch this. We need to get our contract funded in the budget, and I think that it will really help families have more access to licensed programs and these high-quality programs. It will also really support growth in the field of currently an exempt provider serving a subsidized child earns $2.50 an hour. So even 7's better than that. 7 is definitely not enough to offer these high-quality services, and we are really looking towards making this a good job in offering paid sick days and vacation and some of the quality supports that you can give to teachers that really make their job a good one, that they can come to, not be stressed, and really give 150% to the kids. So we have also created a new program that's very specific to family child care. We hear from our members that some of the things that we see are a lot of center-based trainings or things that are very specific to one age group. And so we have dedicated a lot of resources to training family child care providers and helping them with their own professional development to support training and peer mentoring to other family child care providers, both in college education and in their regular work. So it has been incredible. We have served 538 family, friends, and neighbors and family child care providers this fall with 100% satisfaction rate. So I think that peer-based coaching and mentoring and training is really effective. We want healthy teachers and knowledgeable teachers and vibrant teachers. And we know that the only way to get to that is through raising revenue. So we fully support that.
Thank you, Marie. And unfortunately, we're over time, so we won't have time for questions today. But if you have any questions for our speakers, please shoot us an email, and we will forward it to them to try to get back to you. So thank you again for joining our call, and many thanks to Jessica, Ryan, and Marie for participating. Stay tuned to our website, budgetandpolicy.org, for a recording of this call, and you can find our legislative agenda on the front page of the website. After you sign off, a survey is going to pop up on your screen, and we'd appreciate if you give feedback. Stay tuned for our next budget beat scheduled for February 24th at noon on messaging and framing from our All-In Network. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend.